Scanning for audio.
Hello, and welcome to yet another episode of By Hook or By Crook. Episode 18. Well, actually, it's 19 because we did an episode 0. Now, this one, we're not talking about a specific episode of The Prisoner. We're kind of taking the whole project apart and having a look at it and see what we thought. And this time, it's just me and Luke, because we enjoyed it so much. Well, I know I did, that I thought, oh, I'm kind of missing it. And I'm sure there was stuff we didn't talk about. So that's it.
Yes, I think there is stuff we didn't talk about. I was particularly conscious during our last episode of Fallout that we ended up talking a lot about what Fallout meant. And we ended up somewhat rushing through your notes about what actually happened in the episode.
Well,
did you want to talk more about that? Or
to be fair, well, I don't know. The thing is, I was thinking that, and then I listened back to the episode, and it just made sense. Everything that needed to be being said was being said. And let's face it, Fallout, like the guy said, means exactly what you want it to mean. And my idea of Fallout isn't as cohesive, but I'll tell you what we did forget. We did forget to do the Alex Cox "What Does It All Mean" bit.
Oh, we
and
didn't,
that was
did we?
important. No, we completely forgot to discuss the exciting world of Alex Cox's theories and what the prisoner actually means.
What is the exciting world of Alex Cox?
Now remember, if you want to buy the book, you're more than welcome to go and get it. It's also available as an audio, which sounds like it was recorded in a log cabin in the middle of nowhere, but that's fine.
What,
which is the version I
voice? Was him reading it?
He's reading his own book. It's actually really, really good. So, the Alex Cox summing up theory comes down to, and let's face it, neither you nor I, nor anyone listening or watching this, listening to this, will agree, but it's all right. So, the British Rocket Group,
What,
so there's
you mean Quatermass?
Yeah, Quatermass, but not quite. The British Rocket Program, okay?
Okay,
now,
right.
So, you've got Apollo 11, and you've got British Spaceship 1. And that's what number 1 is. And that's why he's so important. That tube thing, the rocket that takes off, is part of the British rocket program. And that's why the missile takes off, because the reason the prisoner's there is that he was a rocket engineer, not a scientist, not a spy. And he was there because he'd realised that the British rocket program was going to be used to make missiles, not space things. And it all comes down to him going, I wanted to be the first man in the moon. The reason that they've got numbers is because they represent the mission. And that's basically it. There's a lot more in depth, but that's what it comes down to.
That is delightfully batty.
Yeah, I know.
And
hang on. And number 1, being an ape, was actually part of the genetic experimentation that resulted in the clones, which you saw earlier on.
Right. Okay.
And it was part of, because they used to send apes into space, and that's why he was a genetically modified ape, and it wasn't someone wearing a mask.
Right.
I think.
Perfect.
I could be very wrong.
I mean, you wonder if that exchange between number 2 and number 6 in The Shams of Big Ben had been cut for whatever reason, with the whole I want to be the first man on the moon, whether Alex Cox would have been able to spin that theory, or whether it would have even occurred to him. It just feels like what other kind of one-off lines from The Prisoner could you kind of take?
There's bits where he's
right, I'm going to take this
about
and hang a whole theory on it.
Well, to be fair, I think you're right actually, but he does talk at various other times about him being a scientist more than being an engineer, more than being a spy, and it leaning itself more towards that. I'm not sold, like I said, but it's an actual workable theory.
I think if that's what like as Rick said, as we've just reiterated, like you can ultimately decide that it's about whatever you want it to be about. Well, yeah, you can. I mean, and but at the same time, to be entirely open to the fact that anybody else who watches it may mercilessly mock your theory if it if it turns out to be slightly off the wall,
Well,
like that one is.
But yeah, that's kind of what it comes down to. That they made because I set out to go. Let's do a Prisoner podcast, thinking it would be a lot like some of the Doctor Who stuff we've done, and it's not been. We've taken apart a piece of literature, a piece of actual art, right? That the reason it's art is because it speaks to us all on a different level for me than other shows, including Doctor Who. Doctor Who for me is about being excellent to each other, and
I think that's Bill and Ted.
Well, yeah. Well, it's life in general. It's like you could be nice, you could stop arguing, and you could find a way. And science often helps. But that's for me, Doctor Who.
I mean, I wouldn't even go so far as that. I would say it's about a character who goes whizzing around the universe in a time machine, and the moral lessons are there for you and political lessons are there for you if you want to seek them out. And obviously it was aimed at a family audience.
Yeah,
right. The Prisoner is definitely a show for adults.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, okay.
Although, I mean, obviously, I saw it first as a pre-teen.
You see
teenager.
That's where I was going with this next, right?
Yeah.
I saw this when I was about 11, right? I've worked it out. I'm sort of 11. I'm in a very suggestive age of like I'm open to new stuff, to ideas and concepts, right? And a lot of people we've spoken to experienced it around the same age during that mid 80s, late 80s revival.
Yeah.
Depending, they were about the right age whenever it came about.
Yeah.
And I'm not even sure what age your dad was, but I don't think he was particularly.
He was 13.
Well, exactly. I think 13 is absolutely the right age to experience The Prisoner.
Yeah.
Because you've spent years watching and understanding standard drama. And then this thing comes along. Hang on, I've written it down. Hang on. This show may be an allegory of our own making. Many of us watched it at an impressionable age where it spoke to us on a level that we didn't really understand, but we could hear it speaking to us and going, yeah, you're right. I'm not sure what you're getting at, but you're speaking my language, man. And it's like you discover, for other people, they discover a band that talks to them. Like everybody who's been important to my life growing up was a Smiths fan, right? At some point, you sit them down and they go, oh yeah, I love this. And it's like, it's meant something on the inside of their head and it's part of their core programming. And I think for people like us, it's TV rather than, all right, there's music. I know you've got the Beatles, right? And it's important to you. And I've got The Damned and whatever, but a New Model Army sticks through me like a stick of rock. But everyone that's important to me is the Smiths. And it's weird that it keeps coming up time and time again. And I think The Prisoner is like that. It's our rock and roll. It's one of our bands that helps define us. So I think that's what it was. I think if you're about 13, maybe 12, this gets into your soul like a band, and it just sticks there. And you can't shift it. And if you try and dissect it a bit like we've done, I'm not sure you're going to manage it, because it's something not emotional. Like it's something like in your core. Am I just talking nonsense again?
No, I mean I relate to quite a lot of that. Because it is one of those shows that has stuck with both of us. And it's something that we're always going to come back to. And obviously because we saw it when we were kids, teenagers, there are only so many of those that we have. You know, you can't go back and insert another show or band or whatever into your formative years, right?
Yeah.
We have what we have, you know. And for us, it was The Prisoner. And obviously, we did have some guests who discovered it later in life as students, I think.
True.
We had a few people who kind of said that was a thing that they discovered later in life. So,
but that actually adds to the argument, because when you're a student, when you've done that break from home and you're meeting brand new people and you're being introduced again to new music, to new ideas, to new concepts, you're in a very receptive stage of your life. It's like it's the beginning of your teenage years and the end of your teenage years.
Yeah.
And then I think when you're at 27, there's like more lumps of time where you're like receptive to new concepts, and you're like, yeah, actually, I'll give that a go. And you'll think about stuff and you'll try stuff out, and then you'll go, nah, it's not for me. Or actually, that is pretty cool.
But even then, I think Erica discovered it much later.
Yes, you're right.
Cliff discovered it later as well.
My argument's
and
useless.
I think. Well, no. I think that they both would have said that they were already kind of fans of other cult TV.
Yeah.
Doctor Who always keeps coming up because of.
Well, they're the circles we move
connection.
in. Yeah.
The circles we move in. So I think. I mean. This is sparked off something in my head.
Go with it. There's just us. There's no number 3 this week.
We're recording this on the 17th of November. I suspect we might get this out next week, which will obviously be the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who.
It'll vanish into a huge sea of Doctor Who.
It will vanish in a sea of that. And I've been messaging you a few times this last couple of weeks about how pointless I think this kind of edit and colorization of the Daleks is.
Yes.
And I've largely kind of not said anything on social media because I'm like, well, there's no point.
No.
But I think there is an element of what primed me for The Prisoner, and I think what probably primes those other people that we've talked about who came to The Prisoner later was that we already saw other 60s shows when we were younger. You know,
True.
So I started watching Thunderbirds when they repeated that, and I was 6 or 7 when that started. So the Jerry Anderson shows were huge in that period between about 6 and 10, I guess.
Yeah,
and still are. I mean, obviously that's why this podcast is a UFO cast production, because when we started podcasting together, that was what we did. Doctor Who came along a little after that for me. In the sort of early to mid 90s.
In possibly the strangest way any fan has ever experienced.
In possibly the strangest way, yes. Target books from the library and Dimensions in Time for Children in Need, which is tonight as we record this.
Sorry,
so
how impressive is this? There's a Doctor Who Children in Need special sketch tonight, and neither of us are in front of the TV watching it.
No.
We'd rather discuss The Prisoner. We're probably taping it, and even if we're not taping it, we're going to find it on YouTube and watch it. It's a David Tennant thing, possibly on Skaro, possibly set pre-Genesis of the Daleks, which we know
the dude is wearing. He's wearing Nida's uniform.
Yeah,
in the publicity stills. Anyway, but this is the thing. I never watch Children in Need live. I always just kind of look for the clips afterwards that I want to see.
We tape the whole thing and then I just spin through it because I am heartless. Because there's nothing like watching people suffering in fast forward. Yeah. So, oh my God, how many other people do that? I mean, obviously we may or may not have already given at the office, but
yes. I mean,
the actual night on the TV. No.
I mean, I think like how and when one gives to charity is largely one's own business. And yes, I generally don't respond to kind of like
it's the actual
large scale.
Yeah, it's the actual TV show, the TV telethon event thing. So both of us have just
we're not watching it because we're talking about The Prisoner.
Well,
That was a tangent that may or may not make the edit.
Well,
I don't know. What was I saying? Yeah. So I think one person we didn't get on, who I did occasionally talk to about it, was my boss.
Okay.
And she's an American who is probably more your age than my age.
I take that back.
I don't actually know. Somewhere in the kind of decade between you and me. And I would have loved to have had her on because she would have provided another female perspective because this has been largely a male podcast. It
really has, and I'm sorry about that.
I don't think that's anything to apologise for. Like we put the call out and we got what we got, and I don't regret
You're right. Yeah.
any of the guests that we've had on. It just it wasn't. It hasn't been a very diverse set of people as far as skin colour and gender have gone. But that doesn't mean it wasn't diverse in other ways. But anyway, so it would have been nice to talk to another American and have her perspective on it.
Yeah.
But I do wonder, like, about people discovering the show today. You know, we talked about the fact that it's fresh and the way that it's edited is still very kind of up to date in many ways. But I do wonder about what its power to grab new viewers in 2023 is, because I think we are, although we talked a lot about what it says today, and I think it obviously does speak to us today. We are still looking at it through those rose-tinted spectacles of our childhoods, but when we first loved it, you know. Somebody's recommended it. Is it called Severance?
Severance on Apple? I've been tempted. I haven't watched it.
People have told me I should watch that because I like The Prisoner. You know, and it's one of those things. I'm like, well, I might like it. I'd have to get a subscription to Apple TV just for the kind of duration. And maybe that's just because I find myself like increasingly kind of revisiting the things from my childhood.
Yes.
And, you know...
and Apple TV takes itself very seriously.
Well, yeah.
Even its comedy shows, they're very serious.
I read... basically, the idea sounded interesting.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things of like, well, I'm quite happy to kind of have my shows now and go, well, these are the ones that kind of mean something to me. And I'm sure there are those things for, like, people today. I mean, actually, the one area where I do see a lot of new stuff because I have small children is kids' TV, and there is some amazing new telly being made at the moment. A lot of it seems to be like Australia and New Zealand seem to be quite the creative hub for some stuff. Anyway,
when your kids reach a certain age, you're going to have to experience Adventure Time with them, I think. That is, because that is like a fundamental core of the relationship between me and my daughter. There is a recording at some point of her shouting, and I know it was kind of a setup, her going, "Dad, don't make me watch any Doctor Who," and that's kind of stuck with it, right? And I think she often gives a new Doctor a go, watches one episode, and then just leaves the room. It's just not in her, her wheelhouse at all, and that's fine.
Yeah,
but
I don't
she's
yet know
exactly the right age for me to introduce The Prisoner, and I'd be nervous. I'd be nervous to share it with her. So we've got other shows that we share, like Ghosts and Adventure Time.
Oh, Ghosts is fantastic,
and a lot of other stuff, which is really cool. We do a lot of Marvel. That's fine. We're saving. I think we're going to binge the entirety of season 2 of Loki on Sunday. So it's that kind of thing. So we've got stuff in common. That's she's I'd say a geek. She knows her sci-fi. She knows it in and out. It's just because we visited Galaxy's Edge together, and I wore the Dadalorian T-shirt, and she had the Child. So we've watched that kind of thing. So that's fine. It's just Doctor Who, not for her. That's fine.
Yeah.
But I am nervous.
I don't know with mine yet because they're too young.
Yeah, they're too small.
And we will see. I mean, I said to somebody the other day that I think, although my youngest is 4 years younger than my eldest, they might be both ready for Doctor Who, scare wise, at the same time. Because
Right.
my older one is the sensitive one, and my younger one is the nutter.
Fair enough.
So yeah, and it might be that they're entirely uninterested.
Well, yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if my eldest isn't bothered at all, because she's very much down the sort of fairy magic kind of end of.
Yeah, well,
stuff.
so was yeah. Anyway, we don't.
Anyway,
we're going to have
digress
complaints about
again.
talking about our children instead of our wives. Hooray!
Oh well, yes.
Yeah, what a
we can
shame.
talk about our
Never
wives
mind.
if you want.
So, you've also messaged me various other things as suggestions of stuff to talk about tonight, and one of them is top 3 episodes. Now, we're not talking top 3 episodes.
Well,
I
think I said top 5.
Top 5. I've got all 17.
Well, I've got all 17 as well.
Cool.
I find ranking things really hard, right?
Yep.
But a few years ago, I came across this thing called a preference ranker.
Okay.
Where you there's a whole bunch of them online, where you put your list of things in, and then it just asks you one by one to compare one with another, and then based upon what you say, it then gives you a list, spits out a list at the other end. Because I find ranking anything like almost impossible. And so, but if you can kind of just go what if you can give me 2 things, I can just about cope with comparing 2 things.
Oh, okay.
You know,
yeah.
It's like menus as well. Like I much prefer a menu with fewer options rather than many, because if there's too many choices, I just get paralysed.
See, the thing is, right, I can go into a restaurant. It's stupid. This is an illustration, dear listeners, of the way our mutual heads work. Right, my wife's head works in a very similar way to Luke's. Me, right, I go into a restaurant knowing what I want, sit down, see the menu, and instantly choose the thing I've never had before. If there's something I've not had, I want to experience it, and I will choose that. Despite the fact that I've spent all day going, I need carbonara. I really want carbonara. Oh, there's fungi blah de blah. I'll have that instead. And it's like, no, you idiot. You've wanted something else all day. So yeah.
Well, yeah. In the let's talk about our wives again. Like we are kind of, as couples, we are the opposite way round.
Yes.
Like you're like my wife, and I'm like your wife.
Yes.
Apparently, in terms of how our brains
work. In terms
work.
of how your brains work, yeah.
Yes.
I am living personified chaos, yes.
I mean, do you want to do the all 17, or should we just do it? Because I feel we'd be here talking for ages.
No, let's
about
not do
how we
all
rank
17,
them.
but I think it's...
we do a top 5?
We'll do the top 5 and the bottom 1.
Okay. Well, so as I said to you earlier today, like I had done this preference ranker a while back.
Yeah.
I think it was possibly either early on or maybe even before we started the podcast.
Yes.
And I thought I'd better do it again, just to see if my thoughts have changed. And
did you do it without checking your results, your original results?
Yeah. So my top 1 and my bottom 1 are exactly the same.
Yep.
And there's the odd thing that stayed in the same place, but everything else has moved around a little bit.
Right.
But yes, my top 5 is largely the same. One has fallen out and one has come up, and my second and third have swapped places. Apparently, I'm not sure how I feel about that, but apparently that's what I was feeling earlier today.
Right.
So, do you want to start with your number 5?
Well, I don't have a fancy schmancy machine. What I had was
that's fine.
I had Excel. I put them down. I went,
yeah.
Okay, because you know what I'm like with titles. I think these have all got stupid titles, right? Because I'd much rather they were using the Friends system of the one with the election, the one with the woman dressed as Peter Pan, that one, right? That's right. The one where you
Did you do that? Have you got a subtitle for all of them then?
No, I tried that and I got lost halfway through and I had to actually look up some of the episodes. Right, because I was going.
Do you feel like those were the ones that were least memorable, and therefore you could be like, "Well, I'm going to rule that one out."
Well, no, because the ones I disliked were quite memorable as well.
Oh yes.
So they were memorable for being. It's the middling ones, you know. Anyway, right. So
number 5, I have, and I know that a section of Prisoner fandom is going to hate me for this. It's Your Funeral.
Okay. Justify it, young man.
Well, it's just fun, and I think Darren Nesbitt is a fantastic number 2, and I accept the perhaps the weaknesses of the plot. The whole like blowing the guy up, surely that was going to take out more people, whoever had the seal on. But yeah, I think that central performance by Darren Nesbitt brings something different to the role.
You're completely right. If you were ranking just number 2s, he'd be up there in he'd be just below Ian McKern. That's how good he was.
Yeah. So that's why It's Your Funeral. It rates that highly for me, but I recognise that broadly speaking, it's not well thought of.
No, I got 7.
But it was really, 7th on my list. I really enjoy it. Yeah. What's your number 5?
My number 5. Hang on, I count these. I got to get them right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A, B, and C.
A, B, and C. Okay. Tell me about your.
Right. Okay.
Why it makes your top 5.
I like the whole dream thing.
Yeah.
Where they're actually using weird science, proper prisoner stuff.
Yeah.
They're using more evidence he's a spy. You're getting to see him not in the village, but you're also getting a very stylized version of spyness. It's just cool. That's it. I wasn't going with what's the best made, what's the best thought out, the best written, or anything like that. These were just gut reactions of, I really like that one.
Yeah. No, that works.
And that was it. So number 4.
Okay. At number 4, I've got Many Happy Returns.
Okay then.
And this was the one that had snuck in. Previously I had it down at 9. Apparently, when I last did this. Yes. I think it's great.
It's 12th for me.
Oh right, interesting. Well, we can kind of argue that out. I mean, I think having Stephen on to talk about it.
Yeah, true.
Elevates it, but I like the whole kind of silent movie bit. Essentially, the bit where he doesn't speak for the first however long. Just it's a great piece of acting from him, and just the and maybe this is the British. This is very much the British person in me coming through. The ending where it's like, haha, we got you. It's one of those things you kind of feel like an American show would not do that to its hero, but Prisoner is very happy to kind of raise him up to the level of like he's escaped and then dump him right back in it for the next week. It
was the silence that made me knock it down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was the get on with it aspect.
Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay. No, I really enjoy that.
That's what made me kind of. Although I do like the bit when he's actually arriving in the country and he meets people who just don't speak English, so everyone just assumes it's a European thing.
Yeah.
It's got some great moments. I'm not dissing it at all for a second.
Yeah.
So
but you just think there are 11 better episodes. What's your number 4?
My number 4, Hammer into Anvil.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I just really like the destruction of number 2, the build, the way it works, the construction of it all. It's the prisoner playing the game of the village, and I just really like it.
Well, that leads on to my number 3, which is Hammer into Anvil.
Oh, fair enough. Possibly for similar reasons.
Probably, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember when we talked about it, and I talked about how much I loved it, and it had always kind of stuck in my head. I mean, one of the things that I don't know whether we talked about this at all. We probably did talk a bit about it when I had my brother and my dad on. That there were various kind of bits of The Prisoner that we would just quote to each other.
Yes,
like bits of Tony Hancock that we would quote to each other.
Right. Yeah. Hang on.
So this was kind of like a shared language that we had.
I need to ask you about this. Go on.
Well, I just the Hammer into Anvil bit was like the whole Goethe. Du bist Amboss oder Hammer sein? Oh, I see you know your Goethe. And this was just something that we would repeat. I think because my brother was studying German at school at the time.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay,
go ahead.
Right. What I've done is, because this project's taken so long,
yes,
that I listened to the shows when they were coming out.
Yeah.
I do tend to listen to my own podcasts back just to make sure that I haven't accidentally left something terrible in, and then I can nip back and fix it. But also need to make sure the sound quality's there. But I listen to it on upload. But I made a point of slowly listening to all of these when they came out.
Yeah.
Because I'd forgotten what I'd said 18 months earlier.
Yeah.
And I found myself massively agreeing with myself and going, every so often I'd be sat in the car going, oh God, say this next. No, you should have said that. And then 5 minutes later I'd say it. And
you'd say it,
yeah. Well done. Or I'd forget. I'd go, didn't you say that at this point? And I didn't.
Yeah.
So there was lots of that. But there's a bit where you talked about Tony Hancock, big hand, little hand. And I wanted to stop it, phone you up and go, what? Because that's clearly an episode of Hancock I've never come across.
So it's from the Radio Ham.
Really?
Yes.
I'm absolutely going to have to go back and get that. Because, I mean, it's not like I don't have it on my phone.
So, and I am massively more familiar with the re-recorded LP version.
Yes.
I mean, I've seen the TV version, but so I think it probably is in the TV version. It's when he's talking to the Japanese guy with his headphones on. So it's just Hancock having he's acting the conversation, because you never hear the guy. You hear the guy at the very end. He comes on and is kind of going. You kind of hear this Japanese voice, but that whole conversation is entirely conducted. The kind of humour behind it is the fact that you can only hear what Hancock's saying.
Yes.
And it's that bit where he's going, "What time is it?" And he's like, "Not, yeah." And he goes, "Big, what time is it?" "No, big hand, little hand, whereabouts?" So he's trying to kind of get him to describe the clock. I
just couldn't place it, and I was going, "I've got to find out. I've got to find out." So yes. From this whole project, that was my big takeaway.
That was
I don't think so.
Anyway,
but it was something that stuck in my head.
So Hammer into Anvil, I think it's just one of those episodes that kind of stuck for the three of us, actually. And I think it was one that my brother and my dad would have happily come on to talk about as a sort of second choice. And Patrick Cargill is just great, and McGowan is fabulous in that role of avenging angel, essentially. You know. Yeah. He's like, you have done something. You are a sadistic, evil number two. You are. I don't like you. You know. And I'm gonna ruin you. And then he does in a very funny way. And it's a delightful study of paranoia. So the fact that we both have it in our top 5, I think, speaks to our mutual enjoyment of it.
Exactly right. So my number 3.
Yep.
The Girl Who Was Death.
Oh, okay. I had that at number 6. So I think we have some similar tastes. Well, is that because it was the first one you saw?
Well, that was it. You see, that did give it a lot of cred. I'm a 51-year-old man, and I just said cred. Leave it there. But yeah, it did. It really did speak to me early on, and it made me want to watch the rest, which were very unlike this one. But I also really love the Avengers, the Tara King Avengers, as absolutely my thing, and it's the most Avengers-y episode of The Prisoner there is. I'm such a big fan of that. That last year of the original, you know.
Well, have I told you before? I've never seen the Avengers.
I cannot understand that, but I don't think you could come to it at this point.
Well, this is what I worry about.
I think you'd find it like Austin Powers.
Well, I've only ever seen one of the Austin Powers movies as well, and that was a long time ago. Yeah, I mean it's weird because I still haven't seen Sapphire and Steel either, but I've discovered that's
going on the list. I'm sorry, that's got to go on the list.
That's definitely on. I discovered that's on ITVX, so I might actually.
So's The Prisoner. Why are we telling people this?
Oh yeah, well yeah. I mean, but everybody who's listening to most people who are listening to this have probably got The Prisoner already.
Yeah, but when we started this, you had to find it. You had to go to the shops. You had to go on Amazon. And now, all of a sudden, you can watch Sapphire and Steel. You can watch UFO.
You can watch all the Jerry Anderson stuff.
All the Anderson stuff for free.
So I watched an episode of Stingray with my daughter the other day.
Yeah.
And the advert break in the middle of it was so long. I was just like, when is this going to end? And then I was just like, okay, no, I've just got the DVD. Getting the DVD down off the shelf is a bit more of a faff. But at least I'm not going to have to sit through like 5 minutes of toy commercials in the middle of it.
Well, yeah. But I'm just saying, so now it's even easier to get this stuff.
It is easier to get hold of The Prisoner, yes. So, and I think the thing with the Avengers, I guess, like I said, Jerry Anderson stuff was repeated when I was a kid, but it was my dad who said, watch this, because I watched it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And obviously, The Prisoner was, again, my dad saying stuff. And I don't know, and obviously, and Dad grew up watching other things like Danger Man. I'm not sure that my dad got into the Avengers either. I don't know. I've never really talked to him about it. But it certainly wasn't something that he went, we should seek that out because it's similar to The Prisoner. And I'm just, obviously, I've always been aware of it because of the crossover in terms of like people who wrote for it with other shows that I'm aware of. So there were lots of people who wrote for Doctor Who and the Avengers. I mean, there must be some crossover with The Prisoner, right? There must be people who wrote for The Prisoner who wrote for the Avengers. But I've just never seen it. So for me, the girl, but I still love The Girl Who Was Death.
All right, so that's The Girl Who Was Death. So
that's why we're talking about that.
threes. Number 2.
Yeah. Schizoid Man.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm a sucker for a double. Oh, right, okay.
9th, yeah.
Okay. I'm a sucker for a double story. Absolute sucker for a double story.
Oh, yes, you are.
Like if I think about all of the Doctor Who stories where there's a double, I think I generally go for those. And I think also just from a technical point of view, and I mean, you know, I geek out over things like that where you go, oh, that's a very cleverly done split screen and all that, and that's it's kind of well edited. But again, it's not just that. It's a great idea, you know, pretend to him. I mean, so I guess I'm a big fan of Hustle, right? Big fan of Hustle, and the Schizoid Man is essentially
BBC 3 series.
Well, it's on BBC One at the time.
Was it? Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty sure it was on BBC One.
I think I came late to the game. I was probably watching a repeat.
Yeah. But it's a con story, right? Because that's what they're trying to do to him for the first half of the story. They're trying to con him into thinking that he's into, and obviously because it's a prison story with all the kind of brain weird stuff, they're trying to con him into thinking that he's somebody else. And they're doing that with, well, we still don't know who Curtis was. Was he a clone? Was he somebody else who'd had plastic surgery? And just the way that the episode ends with Susan died a year ago, number 6, you know, and it leaves you as the audience with the intelligence to know what that means. You know, I think it's just a great episode. Absolutely love it. Always have.
No, you're right. Maybe I should have put that a bit higher.
Well, but then you'd have to sacrifice other things that you put there.
True.
Your list is entirely your list.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's going to be no surprise what I've got at number 2 after the way I went on about it.
Go on.
It's going to be Once Upon a Time.
Okay. Well, I've got that at number 16.
Fair enough. Yeah, but you've made a point. I bet the entire bottom of your list is the stuff written by McGowan.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
The last one isn't, but yeah.
No, fair enough.
Yeah. Pretty much all of his stuff is the bottom half of my list.
No, fair enough. I get it. I do. It either speaks to you or it doesn't. There's very little.
I mean, Free for All has moved up because I had Free for All at 16 and it's now at 12. So
okay.
that has improved. Yeah. So yeah, Once Upon a Time. Tell us why it's good enough to be your number 2.
I love that. It's intense. It's influenced so much other superb stuff. And it's just, I don't want to use the word iconic, but I think I have to, because it's that two-hander, it's that locked-in thing. It's also where I think you find out the most about number 6 as a person, and that's what I'm here for. It's that whole argument that you come up with all the time, where you absolutely do not care that the Doctor is from Gallifrey. Right, and I care. That's it. Yeah, that's what it comes down to.
It's absolutely fine. You know, it's one of those things where I'm just like, well, this is my appreciation of the show. That's yours, and I like the fact that you like it so much because I think it was one of the most enjoyable episodes to record actually because both you and Peter gave a really good account of why it's so good.
Yeah,
you know, and it's not that I'm dismissive of any of what you said.
Oh God, no,
because I totally recognise that on its own terms, it is really good. You know, It's not
Is
my
it a
cup of
prisoner
tea.
episode?
No, but what is a prisoner episode? You know,
That's
there's enough.
true. Well, yeah.
There are 17, and there are enough of them that are atypical for you to go, well, there isn't a typical prisoner.
Yeah.
Episode.
So your number 2 was
The Schizoid Man.
The Schizoid Man. Mine was Once Upon a Time. So your number 1.
Oh, we've already had it because you had it in your list, A, B, and C. Yeah, my top.
So
top
A, B, and C. I mean, I liked it a lot, but you've gone for it as the best one.
Apparently,
what makes it better than all the others?
Yes, at least as far as kind of comparing stuff to other things, this is what the list has kind of churned out. No, I mean, I'm happy with it as a top choice.
Was it always your number 1? Was it number 1 last time?
It was number 1 last time as well, apparently. Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, again, Colin Gordon, absolutely fabulous. Like really, really great performance from him. I mean, to be honest, everybody that they cast to be number 2, I think, acquitted themselves.
Yeah, there is not a bad number 2.
I don't think there is a bad number 2. There are just stories that don't work for me. But I think everybody who was asked to play the role did a great job. But Colin Gordon, I love his performance.
Yeah.
More so in this than the general. Because I think this is a more interesting story. I love the whole going into his head, the dream stuff. I mean, I love Inception. You know,
I don't think I've seen it.
Oh, Inception's a great. Is
it the one with the spinny thing?
With the spinning top? Yeah.
See, I've got a memory of the spinny top.
That's what.
I think that's literally all I can remember from it.
Well, that's the final shot of the film. So you might well have seen it.
I think I've watched the first 10 minutes and then watched something else.
Anyway.
To be fair, I also want to watch Shutter Island, which I've not seen. So
I've not seen that either. Leonardo DiCaprio is the link there.
Yes.
So I think the whole dream thing. I think again, the prisoner working out what's going on and kind of playing them at their own game. I love that stuff. I love the music. You know, I mean, we talked about it at the time. The Dreamy Party music is just one of the best pieces of music like ever. Like, I'm not just talking about in The Prisoner. Just like it's just one of my.
It's just there. Yeah.
It might be in my Desert Island Discs. You know, if I ever did Desert Island Discs. It's just such a happy, fun.
You know, I've never done that. I've never sat down and got. I used to imagine I was going to be famous at various points in my life, but I've never thought I'd be on Desert Island Discs and worked out what I'd have to take. Oh my God, it would be a nightmare. I think it would just give me too much stress.
I, as we said earlier, I don't like choice, and there would be too many choices to actually do a proper Desert Island Disc. But yeah, I think it's just a very strong, well performed story. That kind of the core trio of number 2 and number 14, isn't it? I think is it number 14? There's lots of number 14s, or is it number 12? Anyway, whatever her name is, the scientist, and number 6, and then obviously the Madame Ongadine and her party, like around which everything revolves. She's brilliant.
Yeah. Peter Bowles.
Peter Bowles. Yeah, I mean,
so good.
You know, you just the whole thing is great. You know, and I think it's a worthy sort of top choice.
Right, and I've probably let my number 1 slip, but it's Arrival, because it sums up. It's a tiny version of the whole series in one, and you could show Arrival to anyone, and they've got it. They've got the series. That's it. He's going to be tricked into staying. They're going to try a variety of different stuff going on. There's some really weird stuff going on in the village. Be careful who you trust. The answer is to trust absolutely nobody, including yourself. That's it. Done. That's Arrival for me. That's my number 1.
Wow.
I think it's because I would be guaranteed to show anybody Arrival and not feel potentially embarrassed. I would be. All right, I'm a bit of a Doctor Who fan. I'd be embarrassed to introduce the show to people. I'm always nervous when it's on TV. I hate Doctor Who being on TV because I have this deep-seated fear that the whole world is going to go, oh, we were right all along, it's terrible. And for them to start laughing at us again. And that's why I have like anticipation all the time and introducing shows to people. But I would never feel embarrassed about showing Arrival to anyone and just going, yeah, I love this series. Isn't it great? It's my friends from the past going, hey, this is Cemetery Gates by the Smiths. It's great. And you can't not go, no, it's terrible. No one's going to do that. They're just going to go, yeah, that's a great bit of TV, that. And that's Arrival. That's my number one.
Okay. I have Arrival at number 8, so kind of pretty much slap bang in the middle.
Slap bang in the middle, fair enough. Okay, so I don't think it's going to come as that much of a surprise. What's your bottom one?
A Change of Mind is my bottom one.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Change of Mind's my second bottom one.
What's your bottom one?
Fallout.
Okay.
Regardless of what we said in the last episode, I cannot shift from this. I cannot let it go. It's just not for me.
Yeah, no, I put Fallout at 15. I actually put Fallout above Once Upon a Time and above A Change of Mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently it has some redeeming features for me that mean it's not the worst episode of The Prisoner ever.
Well, there you go then.
There you go.
That was it. Completely unscientific, but it's there.
Well, I mean, this is the point with like ranking anything, you know.
Yeah.
And I think this is the only way that I can do it, like having a preference revealer thing, because it forces me to kind of break it down. It's also the reason why I've done my YouTube series of top story per season.
Yeah,
that feels just about manageable. Where you kind of go, here's 5 or 6 stories, or in the case of the new series, here's sort of 10 stories across 13 episodes, or whatever it is. Pick your top one, and I can just about manage that. But beyond that, it just gets tricky. So
it's holding too many things in your head at once.
It is.
Yeah.
And some of them are penguins.
Well, yeah.
Was it that's it's the Long Dark Tea Time of the Soul. She's in a coma and like most of her head is full of penguins, and then she wakes up. I forget exactly what it is, but it's something like. Anyway,
I've got that. My Douglas Adams book finally arrived.
Oh,
right, because I was part of the thingy builder where you give money at the beginning for the project.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think I joined so early on. I was on a weird list, and I even went up to the author and went, "Mine's not come yet. Seriously, mine's not come." And the company looked it up and went, "We found you somewhere. Yeah, we'll get it in the post." It arrived, and I went, "This has come." And my wife went, "Brilliant." Took it off me and went, "You can have that for Christmas." So at some point on Christmas Day, I will finally get to read a book that I bought about a year and a half ago.
Oh, Michael.
So I was behind everyone who was going, "Isn't it a great book?" on Twitter. "It's fabulous. Look at the artwork. Look at the pictures." I'd love to look at the pictures.
And you were just like, "I backed this early on, and you've all got your book."
I'm meant to be an early adopter.
Yeah.
So anyway, it came. I'm very happy. So that was one of the things that you suggested we did to rank things. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And another one, rather charmingly, I thought, and then it challenged me a bit much, is if you were to live in the village, who would you be?
Yes. Did you come up with an answer for this question?
I've got an entire paragraph.
Oh, right, okay. Shall I go first then? Given that
go
I
for
posed
it.
the question?
You go.
I would almost certainly be somebody like the Rook from Checkmate.
Right, go
on. Because I think I would very quickly go to pieces under whatever torture or psychological experiment that they chose to do on me.
Oh, you see, that is interesting. You're seeing yourself in the role of someone who's been put into there for things you know. That is.
Well, I hadn't thought about it from that point of view, but I guess that is why he was there. I went to it more from the point of view of in terms of like character. You know.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, I obviously I aspire to be a McGowan. Well, actually, no, I don't know
No,
whether
no.
I aspire to.
Neil, I don't think either of us went.
I
We
don't think
want to be a McGowan because I
No,
don't
but
think we do.
I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to be him from many points of view. But equally, I would aspire to be somebody who wasn't broken by being put in the village.
Yes.
But I suspect that I would be broken from being put in the village, and therefore I would be more like the Rook, who would kind of very quickly capitulate to, I'm thirsty, I will do anything that you ask me to do to get the right water, you know. And then obviously he then gets manipulated by the system into thinking that number 2 is, you know. And I guess perhaps that's a sense of also kind of wanting to know the truth and be correct about things, you know.
Yes.
And yet worrying frequently that I'm not. You know, there's that kind of worry that like I've got it. That all of this is wrong.
Yeah. No, that does make a lot of sense. I understand that. Yeah.
So, and maybe that's also just the slightly sort of pessimistic personality that I have that makes me kind of light upon him as a character. What about yourself? Where did you end up?
Okay, so started off by working out who I definitely wouldn't want to be, and I wouldn't want to be a number 2. Now, I wouldn't be a number 2 because I didn't go to a posh public school, and I'm not a member of the House of Lords, so that was fine. My next stop is because I'm naturally kind of, is it a people pleaser? I don't know what the word is, but I went for the butler. It was one of my, because he's always there, and he does look like he's got more power than he lets on, and he knows what's going on as well. I liked the idea of being, a muskrat. That's kind of cool, but I'd probably end up being, well, then I went, right, okay, that's unlikely because I'm pretty sure he's in on it. So who in the village is it? And I thought, I liked the shopkeeper as an idea because he's actually an integral part of it. But we do see him in that chess one suddenly being questioned and be like, oh, God, they're going to audit me. Realizing that he's part of what's going on. So that was it. And then I finally went, so it's either the shopkeeper or, and I can't do this because I'm not an old lady with an umbrella, I can't be part of the unmutual lot where they're just kind of judging other people and going, no, you're wrong, which is just everyone on Twitter. Which, it's like, no, you're wrong, our point of view is right. Because that is, like I said, just everyone on social media anywhere with an opinion or an axe to grind. Probably just the shopkeeper then. So I did give this far too much thought.
No, that's. I think that is.
Is it like one of those psychological tests where, if you were an animal, what animal would you be?
Yeah,
we are animals, we're human beings. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
if you were in the prisoner, who would
which prisoner character are you?
No, I like that you've taken my prompt and run with it in that fashion.
Yeah, no, I genuinely give it a proper thought. So that's I've taken some of the suggestions that you brought on board and given it some thought and the thing that I am really glad about, I mean, this has been my favourite podcasting experience, bar none, because the people that have come forward and joined us were always a revelation to me because I didn't know who these people were going in for every episode. And you've organised that, and I'm very, very grateful that you've done that. I really am. Because I was meeting brand new people and chatting with them live. It wasn't put on or made up or anything like that. It was just us chatting about something that we liked. Like as if we were just met in a pub, these new people.
Yeah.
And there's never been a duff conversation or something that we've gone, oh, God, that was terrible. It's always been great because we've all spoken with passion about something we're all passionate about. It works. So I'm very grateful for that. So yeah, I've genuinely enjoyed this whole thing.
Well, I'm glad that we finally got to do it because we have been talking about doing this for possibly as long as we've known each other, which is quite a while now. I'm also. I mean, as you said, I did a lot of the organising, but several of those guests were new to me because they were kind of they were friends of friends, and actually kind of putting a call out onto the internet did net like a couple of people that we just didn't know who wanted to come and talk to us, which I was like, oh, this is great. We're actually well known enough in some circles that some people will come and talk to us. And
between us, we've been doing this a while. I mean,
we have.
We were both. You were a very early YouTube adopter. Because like I remember the story where you went to Gallifrey, and people were recognizing you physically.
Yes.
Because normally with podcasters, we're completely anonymous.
Yes.
Unless we're wearing like badges or T-shirts, and then we speak, and 5 people turn around and go, "Oh," or
that's what you look like. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, is that you? Oh, you've definitely got a face for radio. But that's kind of where you're at with a podcaster. But with the YouTube, and you started it way before everyone else. Were you part of the limited time period generation of YouTube, where you could only have like 5-minute videos?
Or did 10 minute videos.
Yeah.
10-minute videos was the limit when I was first doing it. I mean, I had a YouTube account before Google owned YouTube.
Whoa!
Which is why when I log in, there's like 2 versions of me. There's the Google account that got merged with my existing YouTube account. So there's like two different faces, and I have to check I'm logged into the right one. I mean, I was the guy who tried to do video podcasting.
Well,
there was a very brief window when things like Ask a Ninja were delivered. But if you've never seen Ask a Ninja, go on YouTube because they're all on YouTube. But it was a video podcast. Back when iPods were just iPods, but they had a screen on them, and so you could watch video on your tiny little 4x3. I mean, it was a 4x3 screen. It wasn't widescreen. So people who did video back then did format it
like an old TV.
4x3. I always did mine widescreen actually, because although I was shooting on on tape, like my early video podcasts and YouTube stuff was on tape, digital tape. It was mini DV tape. So it was a 4x3 image, but you could set it to do anamorphic, so you were recording widescreen.
My wedding video was on digital on DV.
Yeah. So yes, I mean, you and I both we were part of that second wave of Doctor Who podcasts. You know,
the second wave. Yeah,
well, I would say that the first wave was Podshock,
yeah,
and the Who cast, and that German one that none of us have ever listened to because it's in German. But it was the first Doctor Who podcast was in German.
Podshock was a definite for me.
Podshock was like the well, I mean, there's a reason why they jokingly call Lewis the Podfather. And why a documentary on the Seeds of Doom DVD got named Podshock. You know, like it was big enough that but we were part of that second wave.
Definitely.
There was you and me, and but I think most of the people who were on that stage at Hooverville, we were all part of that second wave of Doctor Who podcasts. So we've been doing it for quite a while,
and a lot of us just hung on. We just went, yeah, that's for us. We'll do that.
Yeah.
I know I've dabbled with YouTube, but all I'm doing is the same just me chatting, the same format as the podcast's always been. Because I make a handful of notes and just go for it. Yeah. There was never a lot of editing unless I'd completely messed up.
Yes.
But so you're right. We've been doing this mutually between us for It's when people go, we're new to podcasting, and it's like, come back when you've done 1,200 episodes.
I mean, you are very prolific. I've got nowhere near your numbers in terms of episodes.
I've got far too many episodes. Because I'm playing catch up before the new TV series of Doctor Who comes out. I'm trying to get everything out, and I've done. I think there's been one release every single day this week. That's too many. But all I was clearing the decks. I had a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But for weeks and weeks in advance, it was all backed up, and I thought, this is ridiculous. I'm reviewing stuff like 3 weeks after it's come out, and I listened to it on the day of release. This is ridiculous. Just let's have all of the releases and all of the reviews out now, so we can start again.
For next week.
Well, exactly. Yeah, I don't know what to do. I was getting ready to do it on the night, and then I discovered that Radio Free Scaro are doing their live one, and it's like, fine, I'm not going to compete with that. You have your own conversations.
You do your thing.
Yeah, you do you.
One thing before we go, I think we should direct people towards the comments. So Mark Goodacre, who was our guest on the Chimes of Big Ben, has written a great series of comments on the UFOcast website. So if you're interested in hearing his perspective, head over there. And you have a friend who's been commenting on your YouTube copies of the episode. So if you don't listen to this on the Tin Dog Podcast YouTube channel, go and find it. And there are comments on each episode. I haven't actually read them all yet. I should go back and have a look.
Yeah, it's my old mate Richard from years ago.
Yeah. He was like, because I mentioned Babylon 5, he was like, are you going to do Babylon 5 next? And the answer is no, we're not going to do Babylon 5 next. What are we going to do next, Michael? I think it's probably time we should tell people what we're going to do next.
We were batting around ideas what to do next, and we thought, for a start, we'll do something at our own pace. So we thought, right, once a month, maybe top. Okay, once a month is a perfectly reasonable thing to do.
Yes.
And we can both do our own projects, and that's fine, but we'll come back and we'll do this. And we originally thought was something like For Your Consideration, where originally one of us would bring something like, I don't know, even a book or a game, but more probably a TV show or a film that one of us loved, the other person didn't know, and we'd introduce them to it, and then we'd both have a chat. That was it. And then we realised doing that would remove really cool stuff that we'd both already seen that we wanted to have a chat about. Now, there might have been stuff that's really cool that we've not seen for years. Like, off the top of my head, I've not seen The Lost Boys for about 5 years. And I could bring that, and Luke would go, but I've seen that before.
I haven't seen it, actually. I haven't, so that we could do that
well,
one.
Anyway, something like that. And then, but I'm saying something that we had seen. So those rules, because it's our podcast, we can do what we want.
We can do what we want, yeah.
We'll do that. So the original idea is to bring something the other person hasn't seen or hasn't seen for ages, and we'll chat. And that's it. And then the other person, we swap. And that's it. That's what we'll be doing next.
And you're going first, Michael. So
yes.
So that our listeners have a chance to kind of watch the thing. I haven't watched it yet either, because you need to get hold of a copy of it for me.
Right.
What are we watching for our first episode?
Right. Hang on. How do let's do a bit of build-up first. I set out to watch every film mentioned in the song at the beginning of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Right? At the late night double feature picture show. Right. I'm not going to sing it to you now, although I do have a truly beautiful voice. Right. Dana Andrews said prunes gave him the runes. Okay. That is from Night of the Demon, which is the film, one of my all-time favourite films from the 50s. Classic English film. It's the most Lovecraftian. I won't even go on about it now because I'll just enthuse for hours and I'll spoil the proper thing. But Night of the Demon with Dana Andrews is the film I'm bringing up first so that we can discuss this in a month's time. And I will get you a copy so that we can watch it.
Yeah.
I even own it on Blu-ray, and it's a Spanish Blu-ray because you didn't get it released in this country. But I need to own it that much.
Need to own it on Blu-ray.
I did. You don't.
We are going to do. Of course, we are going to do Doctor Who Watch. And because it's your movie, you can do the research on this one, and I will see who I can spot from Doctor Who.
Oh God, cast-wise, yes.
Because I suspect there will be at least one actor in Night of the Demon who ended up being in Doctor Who. But you can do the research.
I'll tell you what. There's a very famous actor. You'll go, I know him. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Okay. But so there's at least one for me to watch out for.
There's at least one who might not be from Doctor Who, but you'll know him from classic TV. And you'll go, that's a surprising performance.
Right. Okay. Well, I look forward to that. But yes, this time when it's whoever chooses gets to do the Doctor Who Watch research, because in the past it's always been me, but this time it's you. You can do the research, and I will see how many I can spot.
Yes, we shall do that.
And then the following month, I will... Well, at the end of next episode, once we've discussed Night of the Demon, I will then reveal to Michael and the listeners what I would like to do for the next episode and so on. Yeah. And we will progress with that for as long as we feel like doing it.
Exactly, yeah, until we come up with a better idea of something else to do. Shall we have a veto? No, let's not.
I mean, I would say I would not a specific, but anything overly horrific or gory,
yep,
I'm not interested in. And I suspect Night of the Demon being from the 1950s is probably not particularly graphic.
We're not talking about the 1970s version or 80s one, because there's a video nasty with the same name, and if you do a Google search, that one sometimes pops up. So that's nodded. It's a black and white movie. It's the... Oh, sorry. There's stuff I want to say already.
Yeah, well, don't spoil it. Don't spoil it.
There's a... Kate Bush. Right.
What?
That'll be completely clear when you watch this film.
Will it?
Yes.
Because I don't know an awful lot about Kate Bush.
No, but you'll know this.
Will I? Okay. Does somebody run up a hill?
No. There's a...
Does somebody go to Wuthering Heights?
There's a sample from the film.
There's a sample from the film that ends up in Kate Bush's music?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. Right. Well.
Okay.
I look forward to that.
Or I believe there is.
You believe there is?
I'd be exceptionally surprised if it wasn't that.
Okay.
There we are. But I mean, I'm the person who found out that there was one of the world's most famous bits of music in a sample is from the film Strange Days this week. So that's a whole conversation for another time. Right. Okay. So, The Prisoner. Are we done? Is this the end of it?
Yes, because I still haven't listened to the Big Finish version, and you might have to eventually sit me down with a gun to make me... I will. I'm sure I will eventually.
You know what? You'll find yourself going on a trip and you'll go, oh, I've got that. I'll do that. A nice long trip, I don't know, perhaps somewhere in Africa where you had some time on a plane. You could sit down...
Well, I did that recently and didn't end up listening to The Prisoner. I mean, I'll get sent somewhere again next year, so maybe I will kind of save that for wherever I get sent next year.
Yeah, trust me, you will not be disappointed. The Big Finish Prisoner is great.
I look forward to it.
All right.
But until then, it's goodbye from me.
Yes, it's a good. I'm going to have to do it for one final time.
Wait, you're going to keep saying "be seeing you," Michael. But yeah.
Oh, I am at the end of absolutely everything.
As far as By Hook or By Crook goes, it's a goodbye from me.
And from me, be seeing you. That was the Tin Dog Podcast. Everything discussed is the intellectual property of others. No infringement is intended. For early access to reviews, follow the show on YouTube or Twitter @Tin Dog Podcast. To contact the show, email tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk. The Tin Dog Podcast is a founder member of the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance.